the City of Light, renowned for its architectural heritage. Every day, over 3 million people stroll the streets of the capital, never giving a thought to the dark city beneath their feet. The Paris sewers. This underground labyrinth spreads over 2,600 kilometers, the distance between Paris and Moscow. Hidden and mysterious, and completely unknown to most Parisians.
It's a city beneath the city. Actually, underneath each street in Paris, there's a sewer that's accessible.
It feels like entering the bowels of the earth.
Like the city above, the pipes below are always on the move. Every turn of a tap, every flush of a toilet, every minute of every day, Parisians depend on the waste they take away and the fresh water they provide. How does it all work so seamlessly? Now, thanks to unprecedented access and computer-generated imagery, you're about to discover the secrets of the Paris sewers, where close to 6.5 million cubic meters of wastewater travel daily, equal to 70 Olympic-sized pools per hour. This massive infrastructure demands extraordinary equipment. From high-power flushing systems and huge reservoirs to century-old boats designed to clear sand.
The sewers are an undeniable part of the technical and urban legacy of Paris.
The know-how and these extremely advanced constructions and machines have withstood the test of time.
Since its creation in the 19th century, the modernistic sewers have transformed to keep pace with the vital city above. Witness the elaborate techniques designed to deal with flooding, heavy rainfall, and provide high-speed decontamination.
Nowadays, thanks to accelerated techniques used inside the plant, we're able to treat wastewater in just a few hours.
From the collection of rainwater and wastewater to the distribution of drinking water, your sewer tour will take you on a fascinating behind-the-scenes adventure in history and technology. Deep inside the bowels of Paris, without getting your feet wet. Every day in Paris, more than 2 million residents flush their toilet, clean their dishes and clothes, and take a shower. All this domestic water ends up in the sewers. This amounts to over 6.5 billion liters of wastewater that must be evacuated each day. Every hour, the equivalent of 70 Olympic-sized pools flows inside this invisible yet gigantic infrastructure. In fact, the sewers are a network of tunnels mirroring the layout of the streets and boulevards above the ground. In total, 2,600 kilometers of galleries meander underneath the city. If they were put end to end, the sewers would cover the distance between Paris and Moscow. This extraordinary infrastructure serves several purposes. On top of collecting wastewater, these tunnels gather rainwater and prevent the flooding of Parisian streets when heavy storms occur. This network also plays a crucial role in providing drinking water to local residents. The underground galleries host a 2,000-kilometer network of pipes distributing drinking water to every Paris household. Once used, this water returns in the sewer system located only 3 meters underground. Each building has its own evacuation outlet connected to a primary sewer that's about 1.3 meter wide. This first link of the sewer chain then reaches a sub-collector. The latter flows in a main collector between 4 to 6 meters in diameter, located under the big Paris boulevards.
This system can be compared to what you have in nature, such as a source, a small brook flowing into a river until it reaches the sea. It uses the exact same process as the elementary sewer collects wastewater from a single outlet before flowing into a collector and finally reaching the sea, which is represented by the water treatment plant.
The mission of the sewer system is to evacuate the wastewater of over 2 million Parisians, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In order to maintain this hidden network, city workers go inside the sewers on a daily basis. Sewer workers access the tunnels through one of the 20,000 manholes scattered across the sidewalks of the capital. Each lid weighs over 80 kilos. Under the pavement, workers find themselves in a confined space ruled by darkness and humidity. This hidden and mysterious part of Paris is completely unknown to most of its residents. At first glance, the sewer network looks like a maze of alleys and narrow pathways. But in essence, this huge infrastructure is just a mirror of the city streets. Each street, avenue, and boulevard have their counterpart sewer tunnel. This 2,600-kilometer network provides every Paris building with a direct link to this intricate universe.
Right now, we're under Rue Alésia. As you can see, sewer workers install signs to serve as bearings. Every building found above ground has its equivalent inside the sewer system. Here, we're under number 61 and 63. These are the two building outlets. Someone probably flushed their toilet or used water from this section of the building, which is now being collected.
Paris has a total of 100,000 such connections, linking every building to the sewer system. Wastewater from each building is gathered in a single evacuation pipe before being discharged in the sewers. In Paris, some 300 sewer workers are responsible for the safe flow of wastewater. Every day, they walk inside the bowels of the capital in order to maintain this gigantic network. These galleries are part of the historical heritage of Paris. They were designed over 150 years ago. In the beginning of the 19th century, wastewater drainage was fairly rudimentary. As a result, whenever heavy rains would fall, black water would flood the streets, releasing a foul smell.
Paris was at the mercy of the Seine River. So in times of floods, the river would commonly rise through people's cellars and the sewers, which caused the water to pour out onto the streets, carrying garbage, filth, and all the disgusting things traditionally found in urban settings.
In the early 1800s, Paris only had a few dozen kilometers of sewers at its disposal.
There were hardly any sewers. Moreover, they were poorly designed and maintained. As a consequence, the city was, according to its residents, unpleasant for both the eyes and the nose.
The poor drainage of wastewater caused several cholera epidemics, killing thousands of Parisians. This dire situation needed to be addressed. The sewer revolution started with the arrival of Napoleon III and Prefect Haussmann. The city underwent an unprecedented transformation, both on the surface and under it.
Wastewater had to be drained from the streets and the open air. They had to find a way to make it disappear, thus creating a clean city with tree-lined walkways and everything else featured in a typical modern city of that day and age.
For Paris to be worthy of its status as the City of Light, the streets had to be cleansed at all cost.
The sewer system was quite important. Not only did the government want their city to be beautiful and bright, but also clean. And a sewer system was a key part of this urban planning that also carried a political aspect.
To clean Paris, Prefect Haussmann entrusted visionary civil engineer Eugène Belgrand with this ambitious mission. Belgrand's goal was to drain black water through a gigantic underground sewer system.
Belgrand's idea was to develop an underground city planning far more advanced than before. He wanted to dig underground galleries able to collect a large amount of water, and in doing so, to develop a city on 2 levels. The scale of his project was quite utopic.
To see their mission through, Haussmann and Belgrand undertook colossal work. every street of Paris was successively ripped open and tunnels were dug. The work stretched over several decades and forever changed the face of the capital. By designing this huge underground infrastructure, Eugène Belgrand revolutionized the Paris sewers. In order to drain the capital's sewage, he imagined a gigantic network collecting both wastewater from every household as well as rainwater. Under the action of gravity, these waters would flow towards the northeast of Paris, thanks to the city's natural hills.
The system works automatically, relying on the principle of gravity, and without any mechanical action. The use of gravity, therefore, makes pumping unnecessary, which is a very expensive and tricky system to maintain.
Another feature that was unique in the world is that all the galleries were accessible, allowing sewer workers to walk freely along them.
Belgrand was a visionary. He established his work's dimensions based on his prediction for Paris's growth and influence on the rest of the world. That's why he designed large, accessible sewers, which facilitated the maintenance work. A blocked pipe requires a lot of disruptive work above the ground. But when the sewers are accessible, we can go inside, take action, and find the source of the problem.
In just a few decades, Belgrand and his successors accomplished colossal work. They built hundreds of kilometers of sewers, allowing the discrete drainage of rain and wastewater. But that's not all. In order to maintain and prevent waste matter accumulation inside this gigantic network, Belgrand had an original idea. He imagined a unique, spectacular system. Cars and boats designed to travel inside the galleries and scrape the bottom of the sewers. To this day, sewer workers use these huge vehicles to go down the city's main collectors. Gate boats weigh almost 7 tons and measure 10 meters in length and 2 meters in width. This delicate operation is usually done at night to avoid disrupting city traffic. It takes 6 hours to lower a beast this size. Once inside the sewers, the scrubbing operation can begin. When the boat comes to a heap of waste matter, it's blocked. Sewer workers then lower the gate. Moored with chains, the boat is lifted under the effect of rising water coming from the back. When the level of water is sufficient, the gate is swiftly opened. The flowing water removes the deposits and pushes them forward inside the tunnels. This is how the boat makes its way inside the collector, stopping each time a heap appears or when it's blocked by any unusual object.
Inside the collectors, sometimes we find wheelbarrows left behind by construction workers, cinder blocks, car tires, or tree grates like those you find around the trees in Paris. I don't know how they end up in the sewers, but we find them quite often.
In use since the 1920s, these unique gate boats are part of the historical legacy of the Paris sewers.
We've tried many different things inside the biggest collectors, where the current is strong, and so far, nothing's worked better than the original gate boats.
Several months a year, sewer workers navigate a dozen gate boats inside the network of main collectors. This operation is very delicate. It requires the participation of 7 workers who must remain alert at all times in a noisy environment.
The workers take turns during the entire operation. For example, the chains in the back of the boat weigh 80 kilos, so it's very demanding physically. It may not seem like it, but operating the gate is super hard.
Gate boat crews are actually navigating a 5-ton vehicle under the thrust of water. If they slip up and the boat starts going, it can't be stopped. The job requires a high skill level.
These huge gate boats have been navigating inside the bowels of the capital for over a century. As it moves forward at a speed of 30 meters a day, the gate boat pushes the waste matter towards a sand trap. About 100 such reservoirs can be found along the main collectors under the boulevards of Paris.
On a regular basis, these huge sand traps are dried, emptied, and all the sand is sent to the waste process plant. The main goal is to maintain a quality network that works hydraulically.
Every year, gate boats clear up close to 6,000 cubic meters of sand, which could almost fill 2 Olympic-sized pools. Thanks to the visionary genius of its creator, its great dimensions and regular maintenance, the sewer system has successfully lasted over a century. The men working in the sewers today carry out the same operations their colleagues did 100 years ago. However, their protective gear has been improved, as the sewer environment can be dangerous. Inside these dark, confined sewers, the main danger is invisible. In some places, solid substances accumulate and decompose, thus creating potentially lethal gases. One of the most dangerous is hydrogen sulfide, which stems from the decomposition of organic matter. But there's also carbon monoxide and methane, a highly flammable gas. Whenever the presence of gas is detected, developing accurate reflexes is vital. Sewer workers must precisely know how to use their protection gear. To that end, they go through rigorous simulation drills on a regular basis. A control box sets off an alarm after detecting the presence of abnormal gas. In order to shield themselves from this potentially deadly gas, workers must put on their masks as quickly as possible and protect their respiratory systems.
They're equipped with self-rescue masks that provide them with 30 minutes of air supply, which is more than enough time to exit the sewer.
These emergency masks come with a small compartment containing a supply of compressed oxygen. As soon as the mask is in place, the oxygen is released, allowing the user to safely breathe through a self-contained device without any outside air supply. This great innovation ensures the survival of workers when confronted with lethal gases. Between suspended matter, gases, bacteria, and fungi, the dangers are many.
Our biggest enemy inside the sewers are gases and bacteriological hazards. We're working inside a huge pipe filled with feces, filth, and many other horrible things. Breathing it in or being in contact with it involves serious risk. It's an extremely difficult job.
These days, sewer workers are not the only ones working inside the bowels of the capital. Other technicians also go down these tunnels. The sewer system doesn't only drain wastewater, it also serves as a technical gallery, hosting the internet wiring and streetlight power cables. What's even more surprising is that it hosts the entire city's drinking water supply line. These drinking water lines are installed on the roof of the underground galleries. In total, a 2,000-kilometer piping network runs across the sewers in order to supply each and every building. This parallel network was designed and conceived at the same time as the creation of the modern sewer system 150 years ago. Up until the end of the 18th century, certain Parisians still got their water directly from the Seine River. But back then, the water was contaminated.
Since this Seine River was used as a main drainage, its water was extremely polluted, which is why Marivaux, while debating on the subject not long before the French Revolution, had this true, powerful quote that says, "Parisians empty their chamber pot in their carafe."
While the poor got their water directly from the Seine River, the rich hired water carriers who collected water from public fountains supplied by better quality underground sources. But there wasn't enough water available to meet the needs of all Parisians. In the middle of the 19th century, Prefect Haussmann had the idea of drawing cleaner water outside the capital. Eugène Belgrand, who was responsible for creating the sewer system, was also tasked with the mission of bringing drinking water to the heart of Paris. To achieve this, he imagined an entirely connected, complex network. The engineers started by locating several water sources within a 150-kilometer radius around the city. But drawing water was not all. It needed to be transported all the way to Paris. Inspired by the Romans, Belgrand had a gigantic aqueduct network built in order to carry water over huge distances. In these monumental structures, the water simply follows the natural inclination of the land until it reaches the bottom of the Paris area. It flows from the source under the action of gravity, all the way to the edges of the capital. Then, the water runs along the pipes inside the sewer network.
Belgrand used the principle of gravity. In other words, the water flowed towards Paris because it came from a higher ground.
He used the topography of the Parisian area, which was not only relevant, but it also contributed to the system's resilience, as evidenced by the fact that it still provides half of the water consumed in Paris.
This colossal worksite, built in parallel with the construction of the Paris sewers, lasted about 40 years. The work was completed well after Belgrand's death in the early 20th century. The work accomplished by Belgrand and his successors is remarkable. In total, 470 kilometers of aqueducts were built. To this day, these structures bring water drawn from about 100 intake points all around Paris. Finally, the drinking water is distributed to Parisian households, thanks to some 2,000 kilometers of pipes installed inside the sewer network. At the time it was designed at the end of the 19th century, this unique network, used both to drain wastewater and to distribute drinking water, was a genuine innovation.
The most remarkable thing about Belgrand's system is its longevity. To this day, Eau de Paris uses the network that was designed and built by Eugène Belgrand and his successors.
Today still, the sewer network plays a key role in the distribution of drinking water across the capital. This joint system offers a tremendous advantage, as the pipes are accessible from inside the tunnels. In the event of leaks, or simply to maintain the pipe network, the city doesn't have to rip the streets open or hinder traffic. City workers have direct access to the sewers. The drinking water pipe network hangs from the ceiling. Water travels inside 2,000 kilometers of pipes inside the sewers, distributing water to every building and fire hydrant. Every so often, the pipes start to leak and need replacement. Despite the proximity between the drinking water and wastewater networks, there is a zero risk of contamination.
The pipe is under pressure along its entire length. There are no weak spots. We're absolutely positive that nothing can enter the pipe. No foreign body can get inside.
Water is the most closely monitored consumer good in all of France. In Paris only, it undergoes over 1 million tests every year. These are done through all the stages of the distribution, well before the water reaches the sewers. Every measure is taken to ensure water of the highest quality. Before traveling inside the sewer system and reaching Parisian households, the water undergoes a series of treatments. Some are done here at the water treatment plant of Aix-les-Roses, just south of Paris. This gigantic facility collects underground water from the Sens region. The state-of-the-art plant produces 110,000 cubic meters of water every day, which amounts to 1/5 of the capital's drinking water needs. When it reaches the plant, the water seems clear. However, it contains several substances invisible to the naked eye and potentially hazardous to our health.
The water is already clear, but it's not clean enough to drink. In fact, it contains materials such as ground minerals, bacteria, and parasites. These elements, together with pesticides, will be eliminated through a thorough treatment process.
The first part of the treatment involves pouring the water inside huge tanks saturated with carbon powder. Active carbon is highly porous and attracts, just like a magnet does, a great number of suspended particles, such as pesticide residues. The water is then relieved of these substances through a settling process before being sucked up and sent to the second stage of purification. When water reaches this gigantic room, it's pushed under high pressure inside one of these white units. This is the ultrafiltration stage.
Ultrafiltration is actually a mechanical filtration. In other words, it uses the same principle as a sieve or a coffee filter, but in this case, the mesh is very small, only 0.01 micrometer. This means we catch any particle bigger than 0.01 micrometer.
Each unit contains about 100 tubes. These tubes are made of punctured membranes. The whole size is 0.01 micrometer, which is 10,000 times smaller than skin pores. That means no bacteria, virus, parasite, or any organism can go through this barrier.
The total surface area of this ultrafiltration plant equals 66,000 square meters, meaning that our process is highly concentrated. If we were to build it with a different technology, the equivalent of this room would require a surface area between 60 to 70 soccer fields, which is substantial.
After this stage, the water is almost drinkable. It has been freed of all the undesirable substances, but it still contains minerals. During the last step, a small amount of chlorine is added. This will preserve the water quality during the entire time of its storage and transportation. This step is absolutely necessary before the water can travel inside the pipes across the gigantic Paris sewer network. Nowadays, half of the water consumed by Parisians comes from underground sources treated in purification plants located close to the aqueducts. The other half is drawn from the surface waters of the Marne and Seine rivers, which are also treated in plants surrounding the capital. By multiplying the supply sources, Paris is able to meet the needs of all of its residents.
This creates an extremely strong and resilient system while ensuring its resistance in the event of a crisis. This is all thanks to the 5 different vectors made up of 3 underground sources and 2 surface waters, the Marne and the Seine rivers, allowing us to produce twice the actual daily needs of Parisians.
When it comes out of the treatment plant, the water hasn't reached its destination yet. Before traveling along the sewer network to be distributed inside the homes, it has to be stored in one of the 5 main reservoirs of the city. These are huge covered pools, and the most emblematic is located in the 14th arrondissement. Under this land spreading over 3 hectares, the equivalent of 4 soccer fields, hides one of the most important water reservoirs of the capital, the Montsouris Reservoir. Away from prying eyes, this unique pool is shielded from light and pollution in order to protect water quality. Access to this sensitive strategic location is strictly restricted, and most Parisians are unaware of its existence. This monumental 2-story building is divided into 4 superposed compartments, spanning a total surface area of 254 by 125 meters. Its hundreds of pillars support a multitude of vaults and archways on both levels of the reservoir. This architectural masterpiece was nicknamed the Water Cathedral. This exceptional building is yet another legacy from Eugène Beaugrand, who imagined and designed this reservoir while building the sewer network.
The building's architecture is absolutely remarkable. The lower reservoirs are 7 meters high, while the higher ones reach a height of 5 meters. The 1,800 pillars are the actual frame structure of the building, which represents an architectural and technical feat for that time.
At first, the underground water coming from the aqueducts reaches this building located above the Montsouris Reservoir. Each day, the equivalent of 67 million water bottles springs inside this building. The names of the various sources throughout the years are inscribed on the walls. The water is then distributed to the compartments of the reservoir, where it is kept at the same temperature as the source, 12 degrees Celsius. The water level varies depending on the time of day and the demand.
The Montsouris reservoir level, just like all reservoirs in general, reaches a consumption peak every morning between 6 and 8 a.m., when most people get up, clean up, and use water.
Once the consumption peak has passed, the reservoir is slowly emptied as the day goes by, before being filled up again during the night, thanks to huge custom-made gates. The water from the Montsouris Reservoir flows directly inside the pipe network that travels along the sewers of the capital. It discreetly distributes water to each building from galleries under the pavement. To anticipate the demand, the network is equipped with thousands of sensors distributed along the entire water path, from its production to its distribution through the Paris sewers. Every day, these sensors collect millions of data that are analyzed in real time at a control center. In this ultra-secure room, agents remotely coordinate drinking water stocks allocated to the capital. They monitor the entire network in real time, including the 2,000 kilometers of underground pipe network within the sewers of the city. Inside this control tower, the dispatchers take turn 24 hours a day to meet the needs of the Parisians.
Here, we process 19,000 variables, which amounts to millions of data points each day, and we're able to remotely control most of the facilities. On a daily basis, our dispatchers open the gates inside the network to increase pressure, fill reservoirs, and allow a more efficient storage. Their only goal is to ensure water distribution to every Parisian at all times, 24 hours a day.
On top of ensuring constant distribution of drinking water, the agents must also guarantee an even pressure in every faucet, which is set at a minimum of 2.5 bars. In the lowest neighborhoods of Paris, this pressure is reached naturally, since the reservoirs are located on higher grounds.
The water flows directly under the effect of gravity. It's very environmentally friendly, as we don't need any driving force to push the water and guarantee its pressure.
In Paris, most reservoirs are situated on high ground at an altitude of about 25 meters. At their outlet, water is released at a pressure of 2.5 bars in the pipes located inside the sewer network. This pressure is sufficient to distribute the water to the buildings of the lowest neighborhoods of the city, all the way up to the 7th floor. Each day, close to 500 million liters of water are dispensed all around Paris. On top of managing the drinking water, the Eau de Paris agency also ensures the distribution of non-drinkable water across the capital. This water is drawn directly from the Seine River and the Canal de l'Ourcq. Once filtrated and rid of its plant residues, this raw water travels through 1,700 kilometers of pipes that are also tucked inside Paris's sewer network. This ingenious system is once again the brainchild of Eugène Belgrand. The distinctive feature of the sewers is to house a double underground network providing both drinking and non-drinkable water. This one-of-a-kind network for non-drinkable water is used to water gardens and supply decorative fountains. This non-drinkable water also plays a key role in the maintenance of the streets and sidewalks of the city. Every morning, cleaning crews open water supply gates. Over 17,000 such gates are scattered across Paris. The streaming water clears the gutters, carrying leaves and other trash in its flow. These water gates are also used to fill street cleaning trucks.
The tourists who visit Paris are often surprised to see water flow along the sidewalks. They wonder what it's used for. They sometimes think it's being wasted. In recent years, we've been criticized on Twitter and told it was unacceptable to waste drinking water because it's a rare and valuable resource. But in reality, it's not drinking water. It's drawn directly from the Canal de l'Ourcq, or the Seine River. In that sense, it's very environmentally friendly since this water isn't wasted. It ends up in the sewers, where it helps evacuate black water.
The vast majority of the streets of Paris are on a slope. Therefore, the cleaning water flows naturally along the roads before ending up in the closest drain. This is how rainwater and cleaning water flowing inside the sewers facilitate the evacuation of wastewater. But it's insufficient to maintain the network, which is regularly blocked with sand. On top of the imposing gateboats, another ingenious system was implemented at the end of the 19th century. A flush cistern. Several hundred tanks containing non-drinkable water are scattered across the network and regularly maintained by sewer workers.
1, 2, 3, right here. Let's put it over there. It's a preventative measure to avoid potential organic matter deposits or rat traps. It creates a flushing action. It also contributes to better ventilation and keeping the tunnel generally clean, while helping the cleaning crews when they need to work on specific problematic sections.
Several times a day, these reservoirs fill up and release an average of 5 cubic meters of water. This fast, pressured water helps clear out the smaller sewers on a daily basis, while contributing to their cleaning.
In fact, it's a bit like the one you have at home. It's basically the extra large version of a toilet flush.
Thanks to the water drawn from the Canal de l'Ourcq and the Seine River, the sewers are almost self-cleaned. The non-drinkable water network hence plays a key role in evacuating the wastewater through the 2,600 kilometers of tunnels underneath Paris. But when heavy rain strikes, water can become a dangerous enemy. When significant storms occur, all the rainwater falls inside the gutters and combines with wastewater to block the sewers. The water level can thus rise dangerously and saturate the network.
When it rains hard, rainwater is added to wastewater, and this can cause a flood. The tunnels are pretty large, but rainfall can still be very intense. And in that case, Paris could be flooded. So in order to protect the more vulnerable neighborhoods, a drainage system was designed a very long time ago to make sure that the excess water, named the overflow, is poured into the Seine River by what we call a spillway.
Paris has 44 spillways, which are galleries linking the sewer network to the Seine River. In case of saturation, and to prevent the sewers from overflowing, these safety valves are open to pour the excess wastewater and rainwater in the river. On the other hand, when the Seine River is in spate, these spillways are closed to prevent the river water from pouring inside the sewers.
These spillways are in fact linking devices between the drainage system and the natural environment, which is the Seine. When it rains too much, the spillway evacuates the overflow.
Since wastewater is highly polluting, huge underground reservoirs were built in the 1990s to prevent the overflow of black water in the Seine. They're located along the river, like this one under Parc de Bercy in the 12th arrondissement. This gigantic storage facility comprises 4 compartments measuring 200 meters long and 13 meters wide. In case of heavy rain, the 4 pools can store up to a total of 17,000 cubic meters of water from the sewers, which is the equivalent of over 4 Olympic-sized pools.
After the storm, all this water simply returns inside the sewer network to be brought to the purification plant, where it will be treated under the appropriate conditions.
Nowadays, every possible effort is made to protect the quality of the Seine River. Thanks to its many strong structures, Paris can keep over 142,000 cubic meters of wastewater in case of heavy rains, the equivalent of 38 Olympic-sized pools. Over the span of 20 years, this system has proved its worth. It has lowered the volume of water discharged in the Seine River by 90%. Today, environment protection is the #1 priority. At the end of its journey, after traveling through hundreds of kilometers of tunnels under the capital, the wastewater is transported to the plants located in the northwest of Paris. The sewer network reaches its destination in huge water treatment plants, such as this one in the city of Colombes. Every year, this gigantic plant treats the wastewater of over 1 million residents. One of a kind in Europe, it has the unique characteristic of being mostly buried. Indeed, 2/3 of the facility are hidden underground. Here, sewage water undergoes a real shock treatment. The first step is to eliminate coarse waste such as plant residue, wipes, or pieces of plastic. All this trash goes through huge filters.
These are meshes of various sizes that catch the waste, compress it, wring it out before sending it to a treatment plant.
After going through the filters, the water continues on to huge settling tanks.
In the Parisian region, there are construction sites all year round. This causes granulated materials and mineral deposits. The more general term is sand, which is retrieved in a desander. As we slow down the water flow, these materials settle at the bottom of the desander, where we retrieve them.
These huge compartments serve 2 purposes. They allow workers to fish out the heavy sand sinking to the bottom of the tanks. And simultaneously, grease rises to the surface and is collected with enormous scrapers. The water is now rid of the more apparent waste. But it still contains numerous invisible substances derived from organic matter, such as carbon, phosphorus, and nitrogen. In order to capture these dissolved elements, water undergoes 2 types of shock treatments. A first chemical treatment captures the carbon and phosphorus molecules. Then, water is put into contact with millions of bacteria that digest the nitrogen found in urine. This step is called biofiltration. After these chemical and biological treatments, the water is completely purified, and in record time. Each drop of water is treated in just 2 hours before being returned to the Seine River.
The sewer system and the advanced performance of wastewater treatment both contribute to the improvement of the ecological state of the natural environment of the Seine and Marne rivers. Today, we notice that fish life is growing more and more as we discover new species every year.
Thanks to the improvement of purification techniques, the waters thrown back in the Seine River present no risk to aquatic life. Each year, several billion liters of water are returned to the natural environment. These days, the entire sewer system, from the wastewater collection to its purification, is studied in order to ensure the protection of the environment and possibly even change it into a reusable resource. What if sewage could become a source of energy?
For the longest time, sewage was a waste, and it had to be kept underground, which is why the system was designed this way. But today's reflections are a bit more open, and we consider that the sewer system could be used for things other than just evacuating waste, even though it must obviously maintain its primary function.
When it comes to sewer systems, wastewater can indeed be used to heat buildings. By installing a heat exchanger in the sewers, it's possible to heat the nearest building through an adapted heating system.
Retrieving heat from the sewers to heat up buildings is the astounding innovation that's been implemented in the capital since 2016. The water inside the sewers has an average temperature varying between 14 and 20 degrees Celsius. Thanks to the hot water drain from bathrooms, but also washing machines and dishwashers all around the city. With a heat exchanger, it's possible to recover this valuable heat from the sewers. Today, this ingenious system is notably used to heat public buildings, as well as a pool located in the 14th arrondissement of Paris. The heat pump located in the pool's basement is used to heat the showers along with the pool itself at a temperature of 26 degrees.
The first feedback we received was that this system is ideal for pools because they need a permanent heating system. It makes this particular one very interesting. The city's strategy is to develop this energy source by extending its use to more and more sites.
By retrieving the heat emitted by the sewers, this pool lowered its electricity bill by 70%. In the years to come, several schools and public buildings will be equipped with the same system. The Paris sewers are therefore about to become a significant renewable source of energy. Thanks to the architectural feat and the visionary ideas of Eugène Beaugrand, the Paris sewer network was able to endure through centuries.
Looking back, we have to admit that they were incredibly visionary builders who created a system that remains in use today.
And what happened? Other cities have had to renew their equipment much more often, while the Paris system has been working since the 19th century without needing any significant changes.
Seeing that these infrastructures are more than a century old allows me to say that the sewer system is part of Paris's heritage.
As time went by, the Paris sewers were upgraded in order to keep fulfilling their mission, all the while protecting the environment as much as possible.
The Paris sewers are both very old and very new. Their structure and their 2,000 kilometers of tunnels are very old, but the upgraded modern facilities are very new.
Nowadays, the Paris sewers are a perfect blend of historical legacy and modernity. But this huge infrastructure wouldn't work without the hundreds of men and women who contribute to its daily maintenance.
This infrastructure, the equipment, but also the sewer workers, contribute to the development and the thriving of the city. They're invisible, key protagonists playing a part in the quality of our daily life.
We're the guardian angels of Parisians and hygiene. Our job is essential. One should be proud of being a sewer worker.
Every day, all the wastewater is discreetly transported and treated through the sewer system. This technical and human feat allows the City of Light to keep shining on the surface.